Welcome to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, where history meets prophecy. I'm Elder Michael.
And I am Officer Charmaine.
Great. Officer Charmaine, it's so exciting today because I think we have one of the most, what should we say, misunderstood subject matters.
Controversial. Yes.
Yes,
Very controversial subject today.
Exactly. We're going to be examining or considering the shape of the earth. And this is a subject that obviously we need to use the words of the creator of heaven and earth. So we're going to look a lot at that reference so that we can, speak the truth, because who knows better than he who created heaven and earth, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Right. So go ahead.
Before handing it over to you, I just want to say welcome to everyone that's online right now. Welcome and peace. And once again, this is an interactive discussion. We are on several platforms, including Twitter and YouTube. Oh, and Facebook. And we encourage you to put your comments in the chat. Let's have a lively discussion. This is going to be very exciting, and it's got to be interactive. So we're really looking forward to your participation.
Exactly. This subject is, like I said at the beginning, grossly misunderstood. However, what we are going to try to do is briefly paint the background so that people can get something from how this entire process started. We, as you know, we are the Israelite nation, as we said earlier, and we are the exclusive authority on matters pertaining to the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, who was the creator, or who created the heavens and the earth. So I think where we want to look at the finished product, we have to look at the one who did all the work. And I think we would be doing that more so than ever before this time. So this unique heritage that we have was passed down from our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, onto Moses, the prophets, and the apostles. And today, thanks to the teaching of our elder Shadrach, we've continued that heritage. So we are in our zone, in our lane. We're not going outside. We're looking at the origin of life on earth as well. So that gives a perspective from which we will be addressing this matter. We're going back to the origin, the blueprints, the engineering pattern, if you will. And as we go through the process, we will get more into that. All right?
Yes, I think it's also important to say that, there are many people that claim to believe in the King James Version of the Bible. I'm going to be very specific. If they believe in other versions, that's left up to their own interpretation. But there are many people that believe in the King James Version of the Bible. And as you rightly said, Elder Michael, we are the authority of this book. And personal opinion, if you believe in this book, there are words that are set out which clearly defines what we are going to be discussing today. Mm-hmm. So I do understand that there are some people that say they believe in the Bible, but they don't believe in certain aspects, or they don't appear to believe in certain aspects. So we're going to study the shape of the earth. Mm-hmm. And this is a very interesting, and as I said before, somewhat controversial subject. It's amazing actually how controversial it is, that it actually impacts how it's actually portrayed online. For example, on YouTube, you wouldn't find a lot of you would find information, but if you did a search, for example, on YouTube, you will find, it will come up, especially if you're very specific about your search terms. But unlike other subjects, you wouldn't find additional information based on the same thing that you searched on. Right. And it wouldn't come, if I did a search, for example, on renovation, then if I go back on YouTube tomorrow, I'll find other, channels about renovations. Mm-hmm. But with this, if I go back on YouTube tomorrow, there'll be nothing unless I actually punch in a search. So
Right.
that's been quite interesting.
I
Mhm.
think it speaks to your point, Officer Sharman. It speaks to the speculative process that we are faced with as individuals trying to search for the truth.
Mhm.
There's so many imaginatory, if I can use that word, concepts that
Mhm.
don't speak to the truth, and as a result, people get confused. But we are going to go straight to that foundation. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think this is one of the most exciting and most important subjects
Yeah, I
because
think it's very, it's, yes, it's
yeah,
one that it's very understated. You know, we
yes,
don't speak about it often, but the information is there. And it's, you know what, you can't go wrong with these scriptures. And this is the most powerful things. I mean, there are scientific experiments which proves what we are currently saying. We're not going to go so much into the scientific area.
right.
However, we're going to focus more biblically because this is where it's actually stemming from. You know, a
Not
lot of
only
the
that,
theories that's out there today are there to disprove what's actually
right.
written in the scriptures.
Right.
Yes.
Not only that, Officer, I mean, the science, from my angle, from what I have been able to discern over the years, is a quest for the truth. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have the truth or you have a gateway to the truth, then you don't need science in this endeavor. There are other areas that you may need to look at, and you have to have a control environment as well with the scientific process. But with the truth, you
Mm-hmm.
go to the one who controls the spirit of truth,
Yeah.
who's the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. There is no secondary speculation, if you will.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
let's
Absolutely.
get started then on
Okay, you want to go to the first slide?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. The shape of the earth. This is what we're going to be speaking about
Mhm.
in this channel, which is the history meets prophecy.
Yes.
Okay. You know what? Genesis is the best place to start for anything.
The first
Genesis is,
page.
yes, the first page. This is where it all begins.
Right.
This is
It's
where it
right.
all begins.
You don't get any better than that.
Okay, so we've got a few slides like this, and we're not going to read everything on the slides,
Right.
but I just want to give you an idea of some of the terminologies. We also have to look at the fact that the words that are used in the scriptures and the words that we use on our, during our day-to-day basis are actually describing what we are experiencing, right?
Exactly.
Which is contrary to what we are taught to
Mm.
believe, right? So, and this is why we got these scriptures, because they are representative of our actual experience.
And not only that, there is no other source that is more accurate with regards to the beginning of life, with regards to the formation of Earth. So you go into the source. If you're a good investigative researcher, you want the most accurate source. And this happens to be our heritage, the writings of our forefathers. And this is why
Absolutely.
yes.
Okay, so let's start. Okay, this is going to be so much fun. Okay, um, yeah, I had so much fun putting this together. But okay, so in the beginning, so it says here in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 to 2, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, meaning that there was nothing there.
Exactly.
And darkness was upon the face of the deep. And I'm going to do a lot of actions here because this is how it works, okay? And the Spirit, remember, this is the Spirit of God moved upon the
Of the
face of
of
the waters,
yes.
okay? So imagine, I look at your face, Elder Michael,
Mhm.
and it's just there, right? Just one dimensional, it's just there. It's not,
Right.
it's not all over,
Right.
right? It's not
Yeah.
all over your head. Your face is
Right.
just here, right? So it's a
Right.
it's a surface, right?
Yeah.
It's a surface, and this is what is being described here. That the moving upon the face, the surface of the waters. That this is
Mhm.
what's being described, not the
Right.
around, not
Mhm.
around the waters, just the face.
And that says so much because we're dealing with a liquid, with water. So if there's a movement on the face of it, it speaks to a certain amount of flatness, of level a pair,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
That's important.
Yes.
That's important
So we
because
understand water to be level.
yeah,
That's a really good term that you've just
yeah,
used there. Yeah,
yes.
because water is leveled. So yeah,
Exactly. And not only is it level, it needs a foundation to maintain that level. We talk about sea level, for example.
yep,
Why are those words used together? So
exactly.
yeah. Anyway, this is exciting because what I like about this is in
Mhm.
that this one paragraph or one verse, there is so much dimensions of wisdom, and I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, go ahead,
Yes,
please.
absolutely. So, yes, as you said, the book of Genesis provides a simple description of
Yes.
creation by our creator, which is the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob.
Mhm.
And there is no need for the explosion theory that you might
Right.
have heard. Once upon a time, that was really a theory. When I was growing up, it was a theory.
Mhm.
Now it seemed to become a fact. Everybody believes in the Big Bang. But in this case, no explosion necessary. This is the Spirit of God moving upon the face of the waters.
Later on, we will address some of the rationale behind these statements
Yes,
and
yes.
a lot of
Theory.
the speculations, because there
Hmm.
is, and this is what I like about the subject. What we're faced with is one thing, and what is out there in the world is another, but
Hmm.
nobody ever says how that secondary feature came to be. Why is it opposing the reality of the situation? We're going
Yeah.
to explore some of that to show people that there is a rationale behind that speaks to a whole different agenda. I don't want to
Hmm.
give away too much yet, but we'll
Yeah,
get to that.
yeah, we'll get there. We'll take
Yeah.
our time and we'll get there because we
Yes.
want to make sure that everyone really understands. Once again, if you just joined us, we are touching on the shape of the earth, and
Yes.
we want this to be a very interactive discussion. So please put your comments. I know that a lot of you have your ideas, and some of it meshes with us, some of it doesn't. But you know what? It's a good discussion. So
Yes.
please put your comments in the chat, and let's have a really deep discourse about this, and let's put this to bed once and for all, which I doubt. But
I,
we're going
I like that word. I like that word bed that you use, because you see, without even saying it, you are saying it. Because when we go to bed, we want to be relaxed so that we can sleep. There's got to be a certain amount of level and flatness there, right?
unless
So,
you're in Pilates and you're on one of those balls and
well,
the
but
foot's fine,
then they're not normal. Maybe
or
you have to
yoga.
raise your feet, right? But then you have to look the other way. But anyway, all that's going to be flushed out later. But go right ahead.
Okay, so let's have the next slide, please. So the first miracle per se is light. So it
Yes,
says here, let there be light.
right.
So, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And the God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Now, the point with this particular scripture is that the light itself was established before anything else, before the
Exactly.
sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, whatever, blah,
Exactly.
blah, so on and so forth. So
Mhm.
the light was there
At the
first
beginning.
and foremost, and
Yes.
there was a distinction between the day and the night.
We could
So
even go so far as to say the creation was made because of the light. Had they not been light, there would be no water. The darkness is there, and I like the fact that the darkness is there, because I like the secret element of the wisdom of the God of Israel. Otherwise, you'll be able to go online and pick up anything you want and use it without giving him the credit. So the fact that this is a beautiful, perfect creation under the shadow of darkness, even though he is the light, I
mhm,
think it speaks to volumes. That is
yeah,
what I like about it. If you want to get that light, let's call it enlightenment, then you should get to know him. Get to
yeah,
know what he requires and what he doesn't like. And
yeah.
then we can be one family together. I like
I,
that.
I just find this really quite incredible, because when you do go down the scientific realm, you kind of allude to the fact that the light is only caused by the sun, and everything is dependent on the sun. But
Oh,
I just wanted to show that there was actually light, and you can actually see the light at certain times of the day, way
yes.
before the sun comes up. And
Right.
even before the sun, after the sun goes down,
That's right.
you'll have a degree of light. And I
Mhm.
think that to me was just ingenious. So
Very much so.
say thank you, God of Israel, for that
Amen.
tidbit,
Yes.
that a lot of people don't really understand.
They miss out on that fact because they're not in tune. And when I say in tune,
They're
you
not.
have to submit in order
Mm.
to appreciate what it is that he is saying. We have a question here. What, this is Colin Linton, what does it mean the earth was without form? Okay. All it means is it was incomplete in terms of his what he had in store for the earth. So he did what he had to do, but there's so much more.
It was nothing there. It was formless, there was nothing there.
It
So
wasn't
this
ready for habitation.
right, you didn't have your mountains, your land mass, you didn't have your trees, and you didn't have anything, right? So you didn't even have earth yet.
Exactly.
But we'll see. We'll show you
Everything was
this.
covered with water.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You see, this is really beautiful as well. Okay. Let's go to the I
Let,
hope
let us,
that answers the
let's give an
question, but
analogy.
you'll
Can I
see
give an
the
analogy, Officer Charmaine, that people can
Mhm.
see? Like, for
Okay.
instance, we have, let's say, a father building a house for his family to reside in, and there is no roof yet, but the walls are up, right? There's no furniture in the house, but there are divisions. The bedroom is going to be over here, the bathroom is going to be there, but there's no bathroom and no toilet in the bathroom. So the house is almost ready, but it's
Oh,
without form.
Elder Michael, a lump of clay. A lump of clay has
There,
no form until you form it into a
there you go.
shape.
There you go.
Okay. Plain old lump of clay,
There you go.
form it into a shape. Okay. But
Exactly.
right now we're dealing with nothing. It's formless.
Right.
Okay. So the next slide. Okay, so now we're getting into something very interesting.
Mhm.
So we got the separations of the waters. And if you notice, there are several scriptures on each of these slides that we may refer to some of them later on. But if you do see it and you want to go back over this later on, you can actually go to those scriptures and they will basically confirm what's already there.
Right.
So in this regard, so it's talking about the separations of the waters. You'll also see that in Genesis 7:11, Genesis 8:2, so on and so forth. So that's why we have those scriptures. And there are some of them that are really, really quite prevalent. And so those are the ones that we've highlighted. But in this particular instance, we're looking at Genesis.
Yes.
So here we have the separations of the water. And the God of Israel says, well, God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. So, quite simply put, there was waters above the heavens, which are held back by the strength of the firmament, and waters below the heavens, which
I
is
find
also
this I
Mhm.
find this ingenious. And the
Yeah,
reason why it's ingenious is because he's not using concrete, he's not
yes,
using cement blocks, he's using
exactly.
water. And that's the beauty about water. Water has several different dynamics as well. You
Water
have
is
liquid, you have the frozen, you
yeah,
have the steam and the clouds, all of these beautiful things.
yes.
Ingenious.
Well,
The
Herbert said he's so excited. Yes,
Yes.
I'm so glad.
The
Just
point the point here though, all along as we are going forward, we want our viewers to think that you cannot, or let's put it this way, if you're going to build a house again, because I keep using that analogy, the first thing you want to do, apart from the concept for the pattern in your head, you want to lay a solid, firm foundation. Then from that, all of the other aspects, all of the other dynamics can be employed. So the God of Israel, because he has already laid a solid foundation for the earth, one that is firm, one that is not moving, one that is flat, one that is level.
we
Now
will,
we get
and we haven't even got there yet.
exactly. I
Right,
know,
but we're still
but
dealing with water, which is not, it is a liquid, right?
yeah,
So the point though, water is very powerful. It was, the firmament
Yeah.
It's the first miracle, pretty much, and it's used in every single miracle that you will see throughout the scriptures. So water in itself is a very powerful element. You know, we understand that the earth is 70% water. We also understand that our body
Body.
is
Yeah.
70% water.
Right.
So in that respect, you're looking at, you know, the water itself being, you know, being a miracle, being
Exactly.
so very
So,
powerful.
so
So
what we could tell our viewers, because this is such a big secret, what the God of Israel is doing, have a great deal of respect for water as you read through these scriptures, because you're going to see some amazing things. I will say no more, but have a great deal of respect and interest for water. Anyway, let's move on.
so somebody's asking a question here, and the question is, what is the firmament?
Yes. I think you want to address it, or you want me to
Well,
address it?
it's the waters. It's
Yeah.
the waters, right? You have the waters. It's the waters itself, right? You got the firmament above. You have the firmament below. It's the
Right.
waters itself.
Right. And I think,
Just wanted to, okay,
yeah,
keep.
some people describe it as like a dome, but it's water. And I'm seeing this above, that's where the heavens are. But then below, you also have water. But what I like is the fact that in order to put that up there, you have to
It's,
have a solid, strong foundation at the base.
you know, the most incredible thing about this, you know, and this is a scientific fact. Water comes in different
Yeah.
states.
Right.
Water comes as a solid, a liquid, and a gas, right?
Yes.
So we understand that, you know, the firm, you have waters in the clouds, for example. You have water in the air that we breathe, right?
Yeah.
The air is a combination of water and different gases,
Right.
right? In addition to that, you know, it's clearly says, you know, in verse 8 that and God called the firmament heaven,
Heaven.
right? So where is the heavens, right? And the evening and morning were the second day.
Right.
So the he divided the waters from the waters,
Right.
right? So you got like the waters up there, the clouds, you got the air that we breathe, and you have the waters below, right?
Yes.
So these are all representation of the firmament.
Exactly. New Day says, I've never been happier to learn about history the way I'm learning from Elder Michael and Officer Charmaine. Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries is the best. Thank you. It is just that we don't put our own personal opinion on the wisdom of the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. We
There's
draw from that wisdom.
there's, you know, I didn't have that scripture here, but there's Psalms 19. The
Yes.
heavens declare
The
the
glory
glory
of God.
of God, and
Yes.
the firmament show of his
Yes, his
handiwork.
handiwork.
You know,
Yes.
it's, oh my goodness, that's such a beautiful psalm as well.
Do you want to read that now? I can find it if you like, or we can put it.
Yeah, I mean, you can, or you can just recite it.
Yes. It says,
Heavens declare
the heavens declare the glory of
of
God, and
God
the firmament showeth his handiwork.
day
See,
and
so
day.
right
Yeah,
there, we have to give him the credit for
yeah.
this amazing creation. Then it says, day unto day, out of the speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. So it's almost like the creation is speaking to us,
Yeah.
you see, and we have to draw from that his wisdom, not speculation. Wisdom. There's the difference. And then the third verse says, there is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. If that creation is not speaking to you, to put it that way, then there is no wisdom. There is no speech. In other words, there's no interaction, no communication between the two parties. And you can read the rest for yourself at home.
Yes, and there's a question here. It says, is it then that the form was water, like a lump of clay?
I would say that is what he used to some extent to make his creation. Yes.
But with regards to the form, I
Oh,
mean,
the form.
refer,
I mean the
yeah,
form of the
I
earth.
think,
Oh,
yeah, this is, you know, if you're referring back to, you know, verse 2, it says, and the earth was without form.
right.
So, yeah, the earth was without form and
Okay.
void,
I see
and
what
darkness was upon the face of the deep. So you have the deep, the deep waters, right? And the
right.
Spirit of God moved upon the face of the
Right.
water.
And then
So,
there's a separation between the water and the earth. So now the form is starting
Yes,
to take shape.
yes, there is, and that's a really good point. And we will come to that because
Right.
when we use the term, and this is why sometimes it's important to define the terms that's being used,
Yes.
because as you mentioned, when people say the earth, they're thinking about this circular object,
No.
but that really isn't the earth, and we'll go on to prove it.
Right.
We'll go on to prove it, not even tell you, we'll prove it here
Oh yeah.
based on scriptures.
Yes.
Okay, and going back to that same image, and I just wanted to, going back to your point, Elder Michael,
Mhm.
the water is level, sea level, right?
Yes.
You had the images here. You've got a circular image. This is what they are looking at or claiming that things look like, which is incorrect.
Right.
When you take your naked eye, if you've ever been to the ocean, if you've ever been to the beach, you will look and you are seeing the second image with the horizon, which is leveled.
Right.
Horizon stands for horizontal. It comes from
Exactly.
horizontal, right?
Yes.
It's not an arc or a
And
curvature.
horizontal
Right.
indicates flat.
Right. And as I said, we use the terms to describe our experience. Why is it all of a sudden, 400, 500 years later, all the terms that we're using is describing something else? So,
Right.
okay, so I'm seeing a flat surface, which is horizontal because horizon means, horizontal. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, it's curvature. It's like, then why am I not saying I'm looking at the curvature or, use a different term? Because there are terms that describe something that is not flat, right?
Right.
So
The
bear
only
that.
thing I can say is they may be looking at, I like to see it like a pancake, if you will. So the pancake's flat, but then you put on the plate and there's a rim around it, a
Yeah,
fringe,
well,
an edge around it, circular edge.
yeah, okay,
Yeah. But we'll get
yes,
to that later.
but yeah, okay. Yeah, well, I mean that's more of what they are describing when you're looking at the disc or the circular.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have another point to come to, and going back to what you were saying, the earth itself. Now, guys, you just listen to these points, okay? I'll read this out to you.
Mhm.
And God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place. This is the sea. Even
Yes.
though right now you learn about the ocean, even
Ocean.
though today you learn about the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf, it's all one. There's just
Yes.
one sea,
Right.
right? And this has been separated, and this is where the lump of clay comes up.
Right.
Right? You got the waters being gathered together into one place, and it says, let the dry land appear.
Hmm.
Okay, let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land.
Earth. Yeah.
Look at that. That is so beautiful. So the dry land itself, the physical dry land, the dust that you pick up, which was, probably started off as clay before everything else was added.
Hmm.
This is what you refer to as earth.
Hmm.
So when people are saying, well, the earth is round, it's like, no, it's
Hmm.
actually all kinds of shape depending on what country you're in. Because according to this,
Right.
this is not my words, this is not Elder Michael's words, this is not the words of the Israelite nation, this is the words of the scriptures, right?
Yes.
The King
Creator.
James Version of the Bible, this
Right.
is from our God. It says, God called the dry land earth and
Yes.
gathered together the waters, okay? Called he seas. So the waters were called sea,
Yes.
right? And God saw that it was good. So that was great,
Right.
right?
It's an amazing description again of his wisdom, because I like the fact that the waters did exactly what he wanted them to do, and thereby then the land appeared. You see, sometimes we don't always do what we're asked to do by our parents, and the consequences don't rule in our favor. So all of these are lessons, takeaways from obedience to your parents, obedience to your father, in this case, the creator of heaven and earth. right? Somebody has a comment here. Water seems to be the dominant thing in all living things, such as humans, animals, and plants in this world. And a good observation of the
It
power.
is. You know it so is. Water is life. Water is life. You even in scriptures
Can't
speak
live without it.
the living waters. You know, it's
Yes,
life itself.
right.
Without it, we die. You know, if you do not have enough water in your body, you become dehydrated, and that causes all kinds of problems, and it causes spiritual problems as well. You
That's
know,
right.
I've known people that had they've been so dehydrated that they were seeing things that they became dizzy. They're losing their equilibrium. It's like when water is depleted in your body, if you do not have enough, you are going into, you're damaging yourself pretty much, right? So
It's also important that the water is pure as possible. Keep it as pure as possible. In other words, don't put anything into your system that's going to contaminate the water. Because if you're 70% and you're putting stuff into your system that is not supposed to be there, then you create another problem for your well-being, your health, etc., etc. And
yeah,
spiritual health is the most important.
I think water is one of the I really enjoyed the elements or studying the elements of water, because it's so fascinating, especially knowing the fact that it harbors so many different states, on earth itself, so many different states, and not many elements can do that, go
Right.
to a solid and a liquid and a gas, and it's used, as you said, in all living things.
Yes.
It is the building block of anything that is living, organic matter, right? And it's just such a powerful subject, topic.
Exactly. So the land was, Felicia is saying, so the land was beneath the water and formed doing the separation, doing creation. Exactly.
That's
And
yes.
yes. And the thing about it, what I like about that is we don't know the duration of time
Mm.
that that water covered the land. All we know is when the time was right, they were separated. And that speaks of volumes again to the wisdom of the God of Israel. And
But
that's what I like.
you know what? One thing I also realized as well, it wasn't until the land was actually removed or separated from the water was it called earth. So you're
Right.
not going to call the bed, the bedrock,
Right.
of the water earth.
Yes. Right.
It's the dry land, which
It's
was
called earth.
dry land, which was called earth.
Right. And,
And
and I was going
so
to say what was under the water would be the foundation or the core,
yes,
or whatever you want to call it.
yes, exactly, Colin.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So the earth is the dry land. And this is according to the scriptures, okay? I'm not making this up.
No,
The
it's
earth is
true.
dry land, not the planet.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes. The earth is a dry land.
Yes. So, and I have a note here. It says, according to the book of Job, the earth is stable, which is to say that it does not move, and the breadth of it cannot be measured. Furthermore, it has a foundation and pillars. And we're going to get into that.
Yes.
We're going to get into that, you know. But this
Yes.
is according to the scriptures. It's not moving, it's not spinning, it's not.
Right. And what I really want our viewers to do is to try to appreciate the wisdom of our creator. This is not coincidental. This is not haphazard. He thought this out, and then he executed on his wisdom. And today, this is what we have. And think of, I mean, we'll get into this one later because man and woman were made from that same earth, if you will. And all of this is speaking to his wisdom. I don't know how else to say it. And we
Yeah.
need to learn how to appreciate that and give him the praises and the glory. That's the point. Don't speculate with regards to the truth.
Somebody had something there about waters being contained. Okay,
Yeah.
waters always need a container. The clouds, the earth, and every living thing holds water. Yes,
Yes.
it needs a container. It doesn't necessarily need a container, because when you have gases, it's just there. You know,
Right.
this is the air that we breathe is a form of water.
Yes. Again, I say to our viewers, keep
Hmm.
water as pure as possible. And
Hmm.
in our case, our vessels, that has a lot to do with our thought process. because the clearer or the more perfect or the purer that water, the easier it can be utilized by the God of Israel, and the messengers that he would send, or the, let's say, the spirits that he may send to assist us. The more corrupt the water, the more damaging it is to the body. Then that's how the body becomes sick. So purity of water speaks volume with regard to the service to the God of Israel.
And I know we mentioned this before, but water also contains memory.
Yes.
And if you there are those experiments. If you are abusive, for example, to a plant, right, that plant will eventually just wither up and die. But if
Yes.
you are speaking to it all the time, and we have many gardeners that's out there, they can tell you, if
Yes.
you speak to it and you water it every day, or it thrives. It
Right.
thrives because it loves that. And
Yeah.
if a plant does that, how much more
Much
does
more. Yeah,
a child?
exactly.
So when you are being abusive to a child, that child is not going to be thriving very well.
Right.
Going to
It's
hold on to memory, to
yeah,
certain memories, which will probably manifest itself later on in their lives, right? But if you are nurturing and encouraging to the child will grow up to flourish. So this is what we have to learn. It's like water is in that body and it contains memory. So we, as you said, Elder Michael, we have to be very careful how we treat ourselves
right.
and even those that we care for.
And this is what I like about this whole process. It is not just, oh, we arguing about flat or balling or whatever. We're looking for the wisdom so that we can
Mm,
benefit from the creation of the God of Israel. And
right.
look at all of what you're saying, and you're helping our viewers to generate good health
But
through.
it's not
Yeah.
just even looking at the wisdom of the God of Israel. It's also looking at the reality. It's
Yes.
describing the
True.
reality, your own reality. You have eyes. The scripture speaks about they have eyes, but they see not.
Exactly.
Right? This is what's happening in the world today. People have eyes, but they are not believing their eyes. They're believing the things that they're being told,
Yeah.
which is really disturbing. That's why it's important to read for yourself, and even to appreciate the words that is there, that's
Right.
describing the moment. You
Right.
know, it's it's contradictory right now
Yes.
going on, and that's why there's so many issues right now.
There are a lot of issues because they don't respect the creation nor the creator. But
Yeah.
let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, the next slide. We're going to have some fun with the next slide. All right, let's look at this. Okay, this is an interesting slide, and I had to pull this up because, oh, gosh, this is so very convoluted, right?
Yeah.
But there was one document that I found, and it basically said that the image of the earth is composed of many different elements, and this is collected by a variety of instruments. They didn't really go into details, and even different times and places with several different wavelengths of light. Now, what they're talking about are computer generated imagery, right? You take pictures from here, you take pictures from there, and you bring them together, and you merge them, and you shade them in. You use Photoshop. We have a few brethren that's really good with Photoshop and Illustrator. You use these tools, these computer tools, to put these images together, right?
Yes.
So the only time you're ever going to see this image, or the image that people claim to be the earth, is on cartoons,
Right.
or CGI images, right? They're all computer generated.
Right.
They can't, there is no, how can I
The
put it?
truth.
There's no image itself of the earth the way people claims that
Yeah.
it's looked. That there's no pictures that have been taken that represents this circular object. There is none. There is no actual image. There's only drawings and computer generated versions of this item. And we're going to look at a few more later on,
Right.
and you'll see the details.
So what you're saying, Officer Charmaine, is that these images have absolutely nothing to do with creation, absolutely nothing to do with the earth,
You know what?
absolutely nothing to do with the God of Israel.
It doesn't. in addition to that, this is not just any source. This is coming from NASA. If you go to the NASA website, this is what they are telling you. I don't know how much you have to dig, because I just did a one-time search and this is where it took me. But yeah, if you go to the NASA website, no one else, NASA itself, because NASA's the space guys, right? They will tell you that the images are based on computer-generated machineries or instruments.
In other words, they're lies. Let's call it what it is. So it brings up a point then. How did these people, who are supposed to be well-trained, allegedly well-educated, how are they so spiritually intoxicated? Why are they deferring to the lie in favor of the lie as opposed to the truth? Again, it's rhetorical.
There's an answer to that, and
Yes.
it's very simple and it's
I'll
very
wait
clear.
for it.
But we will wait. We'll wait. I
wait.
know you really jumped there, but we'll
Yeah.
wait for this, and it will come up because
Okay.
it is quite incredible. And
Yes.
we've alluded to this many times before, but definitely it will come up, and you will see why. I hope you will appreciate why. But yes. Okay. So if we go to the next slide. Again, the scripture speaks about a stable earth, and there are many scriptures that actually allude to the fact that the earth is stable, because in Psalms 93, if you see in bold, I have the world was established that it cannot be moved. Now, you don't even have to look at a ball and say, is it moving or can it move, and so on and so forth. They're telling you that it's rotating. So basically, what is it? 600,000 miles an hour, that it's rotating so fast.
I don't have a clue.
Rotating so fast, and everybody's on it so fast that it feels like you're not moving.
Wow. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Somebody's intoxicated.
Oh my goodness. You know what? There's
how
some people that suffers from motion sickness. It's like everybody would be throwing up right now.
Exactly. What about the buildings?
We're moving so fast that we're not moving.
That makes no sense. I don't understand how these people could get paid so much to talk so much foolishness.
They get paid, don't they? Oh my goodness.
Wow.
They do.
And that's how they get their PhDs.
I'm sorry. They call people like us crazy because of the simple things. We're just pointing out facts,
But one of their degrees is a BS. I don't know how that works. Anyway, we'll leave it alone.
Anyways, look at this. There's an image here, and I like this image because it shows in 2012 this NASA image. Okay, that's the one on your left, right? Yes. And this was released as the official image, right? And then again in 2015, you have a very similar image, except that the United States, all of a sudden, the size has changed. It's like, this is supposed to be the same image and official, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 66,000 miles per hour.
Wow.
Yes, thank you for that, Herbert.
It's crazy.
Yeah. We're moving so fast that you can't feel it.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, absolutely not. But you can feel the tremors of an earthquake.
Exactly, which is less than that.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah, they're quite incredible, and that's why I don't know. No, I didn't actually put this here, but this is one of the reasons why they came up with the theory of relativity. Sorry, not the theory of relativity, the gravity.
Gravity.
Because you have to have something that would explain why you do not fall off the earth.
Or something
you don't go to Australia and you just fall off, or you move to the side of the earth and you just fall off.
Something to explain their foolishness.
They have to use it. Yeah, they have to use this term. Otherwise, if you think about it, if you look at the earth the way it's supposed to be, you realize that gravity is irrelevant. You don't need gravity, right? It doesn't work. It's
where you have wisdom, you don't need gravity.
So how come the gravity is not pulling down the balloon that goes into the air?
Yeah.
It's like, what? It's so strong that it can't hold down the balloon.
Or the drones. Anyway, let's go to the next one.
Yeah. No, you're right. There is a point there, and I can't really say how true this is, but apparently there is something called uh oh geez, I forgot the term. Something loon, and apparently what they do, they take the air balloons, the hot air balloons, and they've been using it for years.
Yes.
And this is what they actually use to take the satellites into space. And of course, when the balloon once in a while they lose the air, the satellites fall back down to Earth. And there's been pictures of people taking pictures of these massive constructions that's falling out of the air. Right. So that's really quite interesting as well.
Oh, thank you, Jen Gibbs, for
thank you so much.
Yes,
thank you.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, all right, let's go back to some common sense stuff.
Yes.
All right,
next slide. Okay, here we go.
Yes,
the corners. Yeah,
I just put this one by itself, right? Yeah. You got the nice circular globe that people believe we live on. But I ask this question, and this question is coming right from Revelations. And it says, after these things I saw 4 angels. So we know how many 4 is, right?
Right.
We know how many. Put your hands up. Okay. I'm not being facetious. I'm just proving a point. We know how many 4 is, okay? So we have 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth.
Right.
Okay. I can't confirm what the shape of the earth looks like, but I guarantee you that it doesn't look like that.
No.
I can't find 4 corners on that globe.
Right.
If anyone can, please put it in the chat, because maybe I'm missing something. Okay. But it basically says here, after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the winds should not blow on the earth, nor the sea, nor any tree. So look, you have the 4 winds. You got north, south, east, west, right?
Correct.
So the winds are coming from different directions, right? And it's blown on the earth, nor the sea, right? So it's being held back from blowing on the earth and the sea. But you got 4 corners and you got 4 angels, right?
Yeah. So it shows there's a rim. It shows there's an edge. It shows
there's an edge. There are corners, right?
Yeah. There's a fringe element to it. Yeah. So all of this is important because, again, it speaks to the wisdom of the God of Israel. And we have to look to that wisdom in order to gain some degree of understanding of not only what he did, but we can extract from that, how do we fit into this world? How do we get the best out of ourselves by appreciating what he has done for us? That's what I like to see, because, again, it is not, whereas the other people are saying it's round and it's global and it spins, they're trying to promote themselves. They're not glorifying him for what he has done.
They're not. They're leaning unto their own understanding,
which is zero.
The scripture speaks about that too, that you become a law unto yourself, and that's what it is. It's no more the law of God, no more the law of nature. It's no more of this. It's the law of themselves. They become a law unto themselves. They lean on their own understanding. There is nothing that they speak which is concrete, and it changes all the time. It changes all the time because they have to tighten up their theories in order to, address the questions that are being answered or asked. Right. Yes. So they have to change it. So you'll find that once upon a time, somebody put 66,000 miles per hour that the earth was spinning. That wasn't always the figure, but they had to find a figure that's more, diabolical enough that you cannot test it. You cannot test it.
Yes, so, it's true. And this is what they feed our young people, and they grow up with that sense of relying on the source rather than relying on the wisdom of the God of Israel. Yes. So there's a conflict right there, and that conflict could go anywhere. The dynamics are endless.
Absolutely.
Let's continue.
Yes, this is mind-blowing, to say the least. It's like when, a lot of us, we were looking at this several years ago, and it was just fascinating My goodness, it's
Mm.
you know what? If they lie to you about who you are as an Israelite, you think that they're going to stop right there?
No.
They're lying to you about so many different things. They've stolen our identity. They've taken us and told us we're something that we're not. You know, they've taken away the name of our God and given us a different God. They've done so many different things. You think they won't lie to you about this? And what benefits would they have to tell, in telling you the truth? They don't
Exactly.
benefit by telling you the truth. They benefit by telling you what they need you to understand so that, as I said before, it removes you away from serving the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. But there is a reason why they've done this
That's
particular
correct.
thing, right? So,
Correct. There is a big picture behind the scene that nobody talks about, and we're going to get to that.
yeah, absolutely.
Take a look at the next slide then.
Yes, please.
We got the four corners. Okay.
Okay, so the foundation. Okay, so the scriptures is very clear, and I think you are learning to appreciate that the scriptures are using terms which describes your actual reality, not what you have been told. All right.
Yes.
So with you have here, and there are many scriptures that alludes to the foundations of the world. And as we discovered before, that you can't have a foundation if something's moving fast in the air, in thin air, on invisible axes,
Right.
and it's like moving, yeah. So I just have this image here, which is another nice one, just to prove the point of the computer, generated images. You have two, and these were considered the representation of the earth back in its day. So back in 1978, this is what it looked like. And in 2017, they didn't even bother to change the cloud, the formation of the cloud. They used the same cloud and just changed up the image a bit more, made it a little bit more brown, and give it a little bit more color. They
Is it?
use, I'm telling you, it's crazy when you look at this. And then in 2012, they changed they changed up the cloud just a little bit. But then you got, America itself, the size of the continents are changing. It's like, how is that possible? It's like, my goodness, how is this really possible? Are you telling me that this is the actual representation? I mean, who actually believes that?
Yeah.
You know,
It
who
makes
actually
no
believes that's
sense
the
whatsoever.
representation of the earth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes no sense.
So
Let's go to
I
the
hope
next.
you appreciate that the earth has a foundation. It's
Right.
a foundation that does not move. If your house was built on a ball itself, you will be worried because that's going to move eventually. You have your house built on a hill, eventually it will move,
There's
right?
no stability. It's
Right.
rocking all over the
If
place.
it's on a flat surface,
And then
it's
when
not
you
going anywhere.
when you
So
consider the wind factor, then that's a whole different matter.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. And as I said before, there are many scriptures which talks about the foundations of the earth. The foundations, guys. I'm
Yes.
telling you.
Okay, let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
The pillars.
Again, I guess you have to have a really creative mind to actually see how this is working, because the scripture speaks about the pillars of the earth, right?
Mhm.
The earth is established on pillars. Now, according to what they tell you in school, they'll tell you that there's an invisible axis, right? Spinning axis. But this is talking about pillars. We know what pillars look like because you see them in your homes. Your house is actually built on pillars, and this is what stops it from falling in. Especially if your house is larger, you have pillars that's throughout your house stop it from caving in. And any engineer, any architecture could tell you this, because this is important in building a house, as
Yes.
you alluded to earlier.
Right. It helps to adds to the stability of the home. And it also protects in case, there's a hurricane or something of that nature. Sometimes it doesn't always stop, but more than ever, it gives that measure of security, that you are living in a place that you're not going to be injured if you have a strong pillar. So again, it's an important aspect because we want to think of the foundation of the earth, and
Mhm.
with pillars and all of this established, again, I see an architectural design in place. And you know what is very important?
Yeah.
Every architectural design, every pattern has to be authorized. There's
Yeah.
usually a government official that signs off on it. And if it doesn't meet a certain criteria, a certain standard, engineering quality, then it is not allowed. So if man knows how to do that, how much more the God of Israel? And this
Yes.
is what people don't understand.
Right, exactly. It's like, we are inspired to create things from
Yeah,
what we actually understand in the scriptures. And this is why, um, when people are trying to rebuttal the scriptures, right? They are actually using that. You need something as your basis in
right.
order to argue against, to
Exactly.
argue for or against, right? you
But
need
here's
some- you need something to measure up against,
yeah,
right?
and
And
you
so
have to
this
be
is what they're
careful.
using.
You have to be careful because
Mhm.
humanity is made from that same structure that we call earth. So your
Mhm.
comments against the earth could be as comments against yourself. And this is what people don't realize, because the God of Israel took the dust of the earth and formed us. And then he
Exactly.
breathed into us the breath of life.
Hmm.
So if you're criticizing the formation of the earth, you weaken your own integrity. You're showing that you are just speculating, but it's almost like fighting with your shadow. It makes no sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. So in First Samuel 2:8, he says, He raised up the poor out of the dust. He lifted up the beggar from the dunghill to set them among princes and to make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. So he's already set the world upon the pillars
A
of
fixed pillar.
earth,
Yeah.
right? So this is giving me vibes, but the vibes is not that circular thing that's happening
Exactly.
there,
Yeah.
So, it's so important. You're building, you're creating an image, and the image is contrary to what you actually see.
The
And
reality.
when you go to the next slide, this is what happens. This is what happens from the time you are born. Okay, from the time you are born, you are taught, you are given this. They say that, from the time you're a child, they give you this globe,
Hmm.
and you already have this set in your head, so you're not even going to think about the deception that you're being put through, right? From the time you're born, it's like there is so much deception out there. It's just so incredible, and most people don't ask questions. They don't. Most people don't even know that there are questions that need to be asked, but you see that this is how it works. And it's even worse for the children of Jacob, because remember, once upon a time, you were told that you are not allowed to read. You were not allowed to, you're not even allowed to open a book, right? So you couldn't even find this out for yourself, right? So you're being taught all of this. So before you can even read, you go to school, before you can even read, they're showing you these images. They're saying, oh, look at this. This is a circle. Yes, that's right. It's a circle. And this is a square. Yes, and this is a triangle. And you know what? You got it. You've mastered that. And next they will tell you, this is the earth. And it's like,
Yes.
okay, so you don't even think twice about it, because you are being indoctrinated from the time you are, as young as possible. Before the ages of 5, you are being indoctrinated about this idea
And
that
not only, and the way that they do it is so amazing. And I say amazing because the deception is high level. We have, if you take the shoes, the sneakers, for example, they all have that swoosh on them, which is the
yeah.
Saturn, really, or symbol of Saturn. And everybody wants that. Now, of course, you have those sneakers are not cheap.
Mm.
They can cost you thousands of dollars, even in some cases. But the point I'm making is, to your point, Officer Charmaine, the indoctrination is so varied and is so effective because
It's wonderful.
everybody, yes,
It's
Everybody has the sneakers from the time, like you said, they can walk, and that concept doesn't disappear, and then they end up doing all these other crazy things, but they don't know why they've done it
yeah,
because they've been programmed from the beginning.
exactly.
Yes.
There's a point here, and Mo makes a really, really good point. He's talking about gravity is pseudoscience. I absolutely
100%.
believe it. It's like
Yes.
there is no point of gravity. The only purpose it serves is for this global, this ball-shaped world. But other
Concept.
than that, it serves no purpose.
Yes,
And
it's
it
true.
says they say the Earth spins on 23.4% vertical axis, which by the way, 66.6% horizontal axis.
Mhm.
So yes, it's at an angle. So this is how it's spinning, right? And it's supposed to be spinning like this. Yeah, because I did sciences. Yeah, I know. Yeah. You,
Spiritual
you can't
intoxication.
figure it is. It's very confusing. It's very disturbing actually. It's very disturbing because the God of Israel, he's very plain when it
Yes.
comes to his design, when it comes to his, ideas, but his wisdom is it's so great. We were
Yes.
I think it was it Elder Andrew yesterday, he spoke about,
Oh, the rock of the water, the stone of the water.
yeah,
Yeah.
but there was a scripture, I think he read the scripture, or was it somebody else? I do not recall, but it's like, the God of Israel, the least of him is so
The
great.
greatest. That's the point.
Yeah, the
He
least
has
of him is so
his
great.
wisdom is
Right,
comprehensive
right.
because there's so many dynamic elements
Whatever, right.
attached to every creation.
Whatever the least of him is so great that is beyond our own comprehension. But
Yes.
this here about the gravity and the 23 and the 66%, okay, that is confusion. That
Yeah.
is called confusion. And the
Mhm.
God of Israel is not about confusion.
So
So
at the end of the day, with all of this confusion that is being created with these speculative components, then people are going to, well, if this doesn't make sense, and if they say this and they got the experience and they're given all this data, then they must not be a god. You see where they're going with this, because it doesn't make sense. If he's the God, he's all knowing, he's in charge of the heaven and the earth, and this doesn't make sense. It's failed.
mm,
So you see how they deplete the wisdom, or they attempt to deplete the wisdom of God in
they
order
do.
to
Well,
promote a
they
lie.
set themselves up as gods, right? So
Exactly.
to all knowing, full of knowledge. But what is knowledge without understanding? It's
Yes.
useless, and they have no understanding. So there you go.
Right.
Well, let's go to the next slide.
Right.
Yes, that's right. They choose a very interesting number, and I did see that the number 666 is being highlighted. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I did come across that before. You're absolutely correct.
There's subtleties there
666. It's like, why pick that particular number? You
because
know,
it's coming from a
there's an
snake.
infinite
Of-
number of numbers out there. Why that particular number? They're sending a clear message.
That's
And I
right.
think most of us, well, some of us, we just don't understand it. But
Right.
they're sending a clear message. For those who have eyes to see, let them see.
Ears to hear. Yes.
So this individual, I needed to put him in this slide because this individual, he is key to what we are experiencing today in our schools, in the world. He is part of the whole lie, the deception that's come across. So this quote or this statement here came from space.com. So it's another reputable website. So it's not somebody just making stuff up. And I want to point something out to you guys as well. So let me know if you've ever heard of Kepler. Johannes, his name is pronounced Johannes Kepler. So Kepler penned a work in defense of the Copernican model. So the Copernican model was the first model that was actually developed with this globular round world per se. But his defense is not based on any physical or mathematical grounds. Kepler's argument was based on religion. And what religion was that? He said that since the Son of God was at the center of the Christian faith, the Son ought to be the center of the universe. Now, this was before any of the models came into existence, because it was his model that we are currently looking at now, right? So he is telling you exactly the rationality, the justification behind the systems that you are seeing today. The sun is at the center of the universe, and the earth and everything else rotates around it, according to Mr. Johannes Kepler, which was, he existed around, the 1600s, between 1571 and 1630. Now, this is the time when this model was born. The model that we use today was born. And I repeat, it is based on the sun. It is based on the worshipping of the sun.
Mhm.
There is no other reason why the earth needs to be round and spinning around the earth, but the very fact that they are worshipping the sun.
Exactly. And of course the whole speculative analysis is a lie, or is based on a lie. But that's why we thank Albert Crump for his donation. Thank you, Albert.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Because but the thing is that these people are the ones that are allegedly well educated with their degrees and so on,
Yep.
but have no concept of what the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob has done for all of us, not just the Israelite nation. There's people that do things that are totally contrary to his instructions, but yet they benefit from life on earth, right?
Yeah.
The trees, the water, as you said earlier, all these things. So I don't get it.
Yeah. Yes. This is definitely mind blowing. I'm telling you, it's yeah, I don't know how you can sit down and look at it and say this is pseudoscience. I mean, this demonstrates what you are experiencing. And if you look deep enough behind these CGI images, why everything is rotating. I used to love looking at I can't remember the name of it. Oh, but they have these models with the different planets, and it's going around. It's an actual physical brass model, and it's going around the sun. And I used to be very fascinated by it because I thought it was really cool. They're all going around. They're all spinning at different speeds, and some of them have like their own moons, and you see everything spinning around, and it's really quite fascinating. But when you really look, this is like the sun is in the middle, and it looks so pretty, and it's such a wonderful design. But this is not reality. This is
Great.
based on somebody's worshipping of the sun. This is
It's
what
a
they.
lie.
This is the level that they have gone through to glorify their God,
Right.
to deceive the world so that they can glorify their God. And you, who do not believe in this, are also glorifying their God, because it's set there for you to do that, right? It reminds me of the images that were set up, that the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and even Daniel had to worship. It's right there, and you can't help it, unless you actually know exactly what you're doing. It's like the tree. People's like, oh, I don't celebrate Christmas. Oh, I don't worship no tree. I don't do this. But every time you bow down and to pick up a present, you are bowing down to the tree. And
Yep.
it's the same thing. You get caught up in these lies, these fables, right?
Lies.
So it's
So
it's unfortunate.
Cookies is saying, should I question the globe? Absolutely, Cookie. Stop. I mean, take a good look at Genesis chapter 1. Read the
Yes,
first 5, 10 verses, and you will see there is no globe. That the God of Israel is a lot wiser than that. And what he did it not only because he is smart and intelligent, but because he wants to make our lives as human beings more productive, more
yeah,
efficient, and give us an understanding that is going to assist us in our service throughout, not only to each other, but especially to him.
right. And it's technically speaking, the shape of the earth, the way it looks, it's really irrelevant to us worshiping the God of Israel. But when somebody's trying to make a point out of something, they are really trying to make a point out of something else, right?
Right.
So
They,
now it's like you can't talk about it, you can't discuss it, and if you do, you're called a cuckoo or whatever. But really, well and truly, they have an ulterior motive, and that is to
that's
get you to stop worshiping the God of Israel, worship the sun. That's exactly what they're doing. So
yeah. Mo Gamer says it's crazy how many Bible thumpers will fight in support of the globe and then pretend to believe the Bible wholeheartedly.
you
It's a
can't. How could you
yeah,
do that? It's like an oxymoron. It's like there's a conflict in you. There's a conflict
yeah,
in your spirit when you start to, fudge this.
yes. It's totally contradictory. Two different opinions, and they don't
They,
mesh.
they don't vibe in your system. They don't work together. You would always be in conflict. You never be aligned because your
Exactly.
mind is here and there at the same time, and it can't be.
Yes,
That's the basis for confusion.
exactly. And once you're confused, then you're more receptive to the lie.
Yeah.
Let's look at the
Yes.
next slide.
Absolutely. Okay. Yes. The next slide. Okay. So now we get into the elements. Finally, so we understand we had the lights and it divided the heavens from the heavens. It divided the night from the day. But let's go down. It says that, and from 16, this is where it should have been. From 16, it says, and God made two great lights, the greater light to rule by day, and the lesser light to rule by night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over day and over night, and divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. You know what? I just love, when you read Genesis, I just absolutely love Genesis. Genesis is so vibrant and colorful, and it's giving you clear. There's no confusion in the instructions that's listed here.
Yes.
Often, and this is why one of the reasons why it was important to break down the slides in this way, just to show, especially us visual people, I know there's many of you out there, just to show you that first of all, you had the daytime, right? The light was there and there was nothing else. And people today will tell you that the light is based on the sun. So if there's no sun, there's darkness. But that's not the truth, because the light was there before the sun.
Before the sun, yeah.
And then the sun and the moon, the greater light, which is the sun, and the lesser light, which is the moon, and the stars also are there for their time and their purpose. The great light is there for the daytime, and it rules over the daytime. The lesser light, the moon and the stars, over the over the
Nighttime.
night,
Yeah.
right? So when it blows my mind when people even try to justify how the sun works. They talk about sunrise and sunset. I believe in sunrise and sunset. I believe that it moves from the east and it sets in the west. It's moving, right? It's not stationary and the earth is moving around it. It tells you exactly that it has its place. The sun has its place. It's not the center of the universe. It has its place. It will come during the daytime, as we read in Psalms 19, and likewise the moon. It knows its place.
It's true. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Next
Yeah.
slide. Now, this is what I've been waiting for.
You cover this one.
This is what I have been waiting for. Why? What have we here? We have a sun attached to two snakes, and they all have wings. So, how is it possible that they will tell you that the earth moves around the sun, which is a lie, and yet the sun is depicted from ancient times until today with
Yeah.
wings? So they
Yes.
tell you the sun doesn't move, but the earth moves, which is a lie, but yet the sun has wings. I don't
Yeah.
get that. That's something that I will never appreciate. So there is more here
Yes.
than they're talking about. You have the sun, they're talking about sun worship. You have the snake, they're talking about serpent worship. The
Mhm.
wing represent, in my opinion, that what we call it, the spirit of the air, which is Satan, Lucifer, whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
I believe that this idea and the evidence that from my research shows that this is a result of what I like to say is spiritual intoxication. In other words, it's you're consuming the wrong spirit, and now you're confused, right? Sun worship and serpent worship goes all the way back to the beginning of time. It has nothing to do with the God of Israel. This is Lucifer and his hellboys. Let me put it to you that way. This is the formation or the beginning of idolatry and divination. It relies heavily on the wisdom of the serpent, or what they call the wisdom of the serpent, not the wisdom of the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, who created the heavens and the earth. So there is that dynamic that the world cannot understand. So what we're looking at here then is truth versus the lie, an attempt,
Absolutely.
yes, an attempt to discredit the word of God in favor of the lies of the snake. That's what it is all about.
Yeah.
And we can get more in detail on this, but
And you
just
know, there's a few, you make such an excellent point, Elder Michael, because you mentioned that this is a symbol from way back when. This is actually an Egyptian symbol. You know,
yes,
we've spoken many times about, you know, the spirit of Babylon being used time and time again, and of course the Egyptian were the ones to really make it fashionable. Um,
yes,
but you see that even when you look at the pyramids, you know, the tombs in Egypt, it was built so that the sun at certain times of the day will pass the pyramid, and the sun will shine down onto the to an altar. And you know
yeah,
what? There's another place that also has the same kind of formation, and this is the Vatican. They
Vatican,
also have, you know, a place where the sun can actually come through some kind of a window at a certain time of the year and then sit on an altar. It's like, wow, you know, this you to understand that this is what we're up against. The majority of people worship the sun. They worship the sun in all its glory, and they call the sun Jesus, by the way, today.
that's right.
But
It's
they're
true.
talking about the sun, the fire, the ball of fire,
Mhm.
right? So to me, it's really quite incredible when you look at this is going way back when they just never stopped worshiping the sun or even the moon, but they've never stopped worshiping the sun. We just believe that they do, but yet still we see this as the focal point in everything that we do. And the only time in history that the sun ever stood still, was during the time of the Battle of Jericho.
Yeah, with
So when
Josh-
yes,
yeah,
when Joshua was in during the time of the battle with Joshua.
right.
Um,
And there's so much more to what you're saying, Officer Charmaine, because you can't worship the sun without the serpent. They go together, they
yeah,
work hand in hand. And if you remember that cross
so
in
it's very
Egypt,
subtle.
yeah, it started out as what they called the Ankh in Egypt, and every pharaoh was pictured with that Ankh, carrying that Ankh. The top portion of it looked like a circle. Actually, it was a snake. The circle and the snake and the sun, it all goes together. So the
And
sun, the cross, and the serpent worked
And the
hand in.
reason why they worship the serpent is because to them, the serpent represents knowledge coming from the Garden of Eden. And this is what we're saying. Even though some people claim that they don't believe in the Bible and that it's all fictitious or whatever, you know, yet still they're using the elements that came directly from the Bible for their own, you know, nefarious reasons. And
They're
in this case,
misusing,
right,
mis yeah,
right, exactly. So it's like, okay, we don't believe in the Bible, we don't worship. Yeah, but we worship the snake because the snake represents the knowledge that was in the Garden of Eden, you know, and the sun is, of course, the sun is the center of the universe according to them, and so that's why they worship it. So it's like,
yeah.
wow, this is like
One of the most
unbelievable.
interesting, yeah, one of the most interesting features of the snake or the serpent, same thing, is the snake or the serpent with its tail in its mouth. That's how the circle is formed.
Mhm.
That, from my research, is how the
Yes,
globe appeared in the first place,
yes.
because that was used in Egypt. I think was the first time it was used,
Hmm.
and it it represented, I think it represented the continuation of life after death. So the Egyptians would call it life after death, uh,
Yep.
or something of that nature. And so they featured the snake with the globe, with the tail in its mouth as the circle. They
Exactly.
Yeah, and in Greece they call it, if I remember correctly, obor. Let me pronounce it properly. Ouroboros.
Yes.
Ouroboros.
Yes, that is correct. It
Right.
is. I was
And
actually thinking of that name, and it's like I had that name in my head. It's like, was it that? Okay,
yeah,
yeah, got it.
yeah. And the other thing too, and I think in ancient Canaan, the chief snake like that was called an OUB or OB. So you see that same thing. And if I remember correctly, I used to read about things like Obia in the
Yes,
Caribbean.
exactly. And this is
Voodoo.
where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Obia.
that preface, that preface is
Mhm.
there. It's all evil and deceptive,
Yeah,
right?
and
And
all
that's
connected, all
yes,
connected. And it's
yes,
different flavors, different looks, different, you know, styles,
yes.
whatever. But they're all connected.
And
All
and
part of
they're
the
all
sun worship.
used,
All part. Yep.
yeah, they're all used or employed in that idolatry or divination to worship Lucifer, to worship the serpent or Satan, call it whatever you want, the
Yes.
spirit of the air. All of that is there from the image of the sun worship and the snake worship, the serpent worship, came
Mhm.
the evil imagination of a global earth.
But
That's how,
you also look at Elder Michael, that you look at the whole society and you look at some of these like celebrations, you have the summer solstice, you have the winter
yes,
solstice, and it's all based on the length of the time that the sun is, in the sky. Back in the days, the shorter days, they'll do more human sacrifices because they're afraid that the sun wouldn't come back. This is throughout many cultures. It's not just like one culture. You see it through many cultures that they will do sacrifices for the sun
oh
because
yeah,
they were afraid that the sun would go away and not come back. They worship the sun. When they first discovered fire, the cavemen or whatever, they were so excited because the fire reminded them of the sun. So they recreated as the symbol that gives them heat. So they were very happy. And so that's why they would worship it.
yeah.
But yeah, and of course it scared away animals and they could cook their food, and it helps to break down certain matters. They can boil water, so it became the source of their everything.
It is
So
true. It is a very important point, and it goes back to the high class deception, if you can use that term, because when I think of the serpent and the sun worship with the wings, I think of that automobile. What's it called? The Bentley. I think you used to drive one of those, Officer Charmaine, back in the day, and when you were in London. The Bentley symbol is
I would like a Bentley, but I don't have one.
but
Never had.
again, don't get me wrong, if you were to give me one, I would drive it.
Yeah, I would love a Bentley. Please.
That's a very valid, a very high class vehicle. But
Yes.
so all I'm saying is I have to take my hat off to these guys because they
Mhm.
know how to serve their God. But their
They know
God,
how to serve their God very well.
yes,
But
that
they're very clever because they got everybody else serving their God too. And they get points for that, right?
exactly. Everybody wants to drive a Bentley, but I mean, even the Mercedes Benz and all these things, I don't have a problem with them because you can drive the vehicle without serving their God. But all I'm saying is the image is there being displayed, and the more expensive the vehicle, the more they glorify their God, and that's all I'm suggesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, we're not seeing your chats. Uh, come on, guys, where's the dialogue?
Yes,
We need the
I think
dialogue going.
I think they are amazed because this is a very
Yeah,
powerful subject matter,
it
and the
really is.
fact that there's so much wisdom. I mean, just to look at the first 10 verses of Genesis chapter 1, I could
Yeah.
spend a whole day talking about that
Yeah,
because
and we
all
just
the
like skim through those. We
yeah,
literally just skim through them, but they are very detailed and very powerful. And
yes,
wow.
highly spiritual because the I think you have to think of, if I mean put it, the only language I could use is the physical language. Think of a qualified engineer and building some let's say a temple, and he has in his head, this is how I want it to look, this is how I want it to function, these are the people that I want to be partaking within that domain. All of that's in his head before he does anything. Then he goes out and he does this, and then the water comes, and then he changes the darkness from the light before he creates the sun and the moon, as you said before.
Yes.
All of these things are taken into consideration. Human beings have to be formed, trees have to be established, mountains, rivers, all of this is amazing. So for us, for certain people to just think, well, oh, well, the earth is flat, don't, no, 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 no. Uh, you have to see it in its fullness. Yes, there's flatness there. Yes, there's a dynamic underneath the water that is good, the foundation, pillars, whatever, keep everything in place. It cannot be a ball spinning around at so many, you know.
There's a couple of scriptures as you speak, and then they come to mind, and I can see them here.
Yeah.
And I just want to just read them out. Sorry, I don't have, it's not listed on the slides. The actual reference are listed, but they're not really listed on the slides.
Okay.
But for example, we have in Genesis 8, it says here, the fountains of the deep and the windows of the heavens were closed. The rain from the heavens were restrained. Now, this is during the time of the flood, right? So you imagine you got the windows of heaven that was open for this particular moment. So it's not always opened like this. So it's open for this particular moment where the floods, the rain came down. It was just heavy and, it flooded the world. And then you got the fountains of the deep, those doors were opened. So the waters came up from the deep. And I love this one here. This is from Job 26:10. And it says here, he has compassed the waters with bounds until the day and night come to an end. So, the waters, they actually know that there's a boundary that they do not go over.
That's right.
They are confined,
Right.
there's a boundary. So it doesn't come over. Once in a while, yes, you'll have a flooding here or there, but they are bounded. So they know how far they can come. Right?
Exactly. It's fascinating to see all of this unfolding, like you're saying. What I think about is Psalms 104. I'd like to read a little bit of that for you. It says, bless the Lord, O my soul. O Lord, my God, thou art very great. Thou art clothed with honor and majesty.
Amen.
Who covereth thyself with light. Listen to that. As with a garment. Who stretcheth out the heavens like a curtain.
Amen.
Who layeth the beams of the chambers in the waters.
Yeah.
Who maketh the clouds his chariot.
Yes.
Who walketh upon the wings of the wind. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very poetic, but it speaks to.
It's beautiful. And I can see all of this. It's like, wow, it's incredible.
Yes. And it goes on. He's actually reviewing the creation, if you will, in such a magnificent episode here, because you see, again, I'm not going to stop saying it, the wisdom of God unfolding in his creation. And that is wisdom that I've talked about this before. I like the harmonic relationship between the vegetation and the earth and the humans as well, because as I said before, the vegetation was created before humans. Why? Because the oxygen that is generated, right, by the leaves of plants, and then humans, when they're formed, they give off all of this carbon dioxide, which the plants embrace. That symbiotic relationship, oh my God,
balances out
I get emotional.
It does, exactly. It is. It's a wonderful balance. It's like, the filtering of the air that we can breathe, breathe and not be poisoned by our own, the waste matter that we are, expelling. But it is, and that's why I'm saying, you can't separate science from scriptures, because it's very, very scientific when you actually read it. You can see that, how the God of Israel is working. It's poetry, it's our religion, it's our culture, it's our way of life. This is about who we are. Everything, nothing needs to be separated for you to understand it. You don't need a degree in whatever just to
No.
understand this.
You know what
It's
you need to
that
do?
comes from the God of Israel himself.
Take a walk in the park, and
Yes,
every step you give him the praises and the glory.
absolutely,
Especially if
absolutely.
you walk next to a river or next to a lake,
Yeah,
and you see all the life forms, not only above the birds and below the fishes and the ground, the animals walking. And then you can see the little children playing in the park. And you're like, wait, how did he know? Who was his teacher? Who taught him to do these things? Wow. I guess
yeah,
I gotta take another sip of water. That was
yeah.
the mouse first creation.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's also Proverbs 8. There's so many scriptures that we can read. It's like it's all over. There are hundreds of scriptures which actually oh, there's a question here.
Yeah.
What is
Alan is asking why Moses' rod turned to a snake and what is the significance of snake serpentry. I believe that why Moses' rod turned to a snake is one thing I like about the God of Israel. He will use whatever is there to make his point. The
yes,
Egyptians worship the snake.
exactly. Exactly.
So Moses'
Oh,
rod, he
yes.
is going to throw it down. It's going to turn into a snake. But remember, the Egyptians, Moses' snake is going to eat the Egyptian snake. So that shows
Yes.
his power over them. But they
Yes.
recognize the power of the snake,
Yes.
right? So you
Yeah.
want to communicate. That's very important. And I
Yeah.
like the God of Israel for using that. If he had turned it
Exactly.
into a chicken, well, that
Yeah.
they're not going to relate, right?
Right, exactly. That that
Hey,
is that's a,
I
that's
got
a
you.
very, very wise answer. That was very,
Yeah,
very profound. And
yeah,
you're absolutely correct. It's like
yes,
why do something that they don't recognize? It's like, you know what? If you're playing with fire, I'll show you what fire looks like.
exactly,
So, yep.
exactly. Yes. So,
Excuse
and
me.
here's the other point that I like to make to that. How is it that when Moses went through the waters with our foreparents, the waters, I like to say, that the waters saluted our foreparents, opened
Yes.
up the
Yeah,
path. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. But when
exactly.
Pharaoh wanted to go through, the waters grabbed him by the throat and choked the life out of him. Well, how is it the same
Exactly.
water that gave freedom to us gave death
This
to Pharaoh?
this time he's on the God of Israel's territory. It's like,
Amen.
no, 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 it doesn't work for you. And it's like, he had an audacity to think that he was going to get through. It's like, how brave are you? You didn't open this up, but you thought you can actually walk through it on dry land, really.
Yes,
So that was very cheeky.
exactly. And they're saying the God of Israel made everything, even the snakes. Exactly.
Absolutely. And he can do what he pleases with them, and
Yes.
that's why, the God of Israel, he's so
Beat them at
he
their own
made
game,
everything.
according to
He made
Alicia.
the sun, he made the
Yes.
sun, he made the moon, the stars, and he says he understands our nature, and that's why he said, don't worship them. Do not
Yes.
worship these elements. Don't go there and like, oh my goodness, look, or and then all of a sudden you're calculating the sun and the moon and the stars and you're applying it to your life, and it's like it becomes your God because you can't live without it, without looking and reading the sun, the moon, the stars. It's like, no, 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 no. It will tell us our new moon, it will tell us our Sabbath, it will tell us what time of the year it is, it will tell us what time of the day it is. That's fine. This is what it's there for signs and for seasons.
Right.
So
If they can get you to worship the sun, then you don't worship the God of Israel. Number
of
one.
course not,
Number
because you
two,
can't worship two gods. Well, I guess
exactly.
you can.
Number,
It depends
yeah,
on who you are, though.
depends who you are, right?
Yeah.
Number two, you don't worry about the new moons,
Mm.
which the God of Israel gave us instructions like that,
Yes.
because that's how we know the Sabbath day, right?
Yes.
7 days
Exactly.
later. So all of this is just to defraud the system and to put
Mhm.
in place another system that is very deceptive and contrary to what the wisdom of the God of Israel is indicating.
Yes. A
Yeah,
lot of things are contrary to it.
yeah.
A lot of things. There is there's a couple more slides.
Okay.
Um, number 16, we're gonna just go through this is another one that really, really fascinates me, and it's talking about the light of the moon. And tell me, guys, have any of you ever heard that the sun is what causes the moon moon's light.
Mm. That's what they say, yes. Which
Yes,
is a
that's what they
lie.
say.
Which is a lie.
Which is a lie. Which is a lie. So right off the bat, we debunk this by proving through the scriptures. It says, "For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light," meaning that they have their own light to give. "The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light," because it belongs to her, not the sun, her light to shine, right? So there are other scriptures that also confirms this, but I just love this. And I this picture, I've actually seen the moon and the sun in the sky at the same time, and I've tried to take the pictures, but one never comes out.
Actually, I saw it yesterday morning.
You did see it, didn't you? Because you were showing it. Yeah,
Yes.
we were driving and we saw it. Yeah, so
Yes.
that to me is incredible. It's like, well, look at this. Look at this. They're both existing in the same sky, which is is, you can look at it as a phenomenon, because really the moon is supposed to be out at nighttime. But you know what? Hey, this is how it happens. They're rotating, they're doing their dance in the sky, and once in a while they meet, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. A new moon, they're properly aligned.
and
Yes.
you won't even see the moon.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter what time of the day, if you're not going to see the moon. And you know what?
Yes.
This is another fascinating thing. A lot of people, a lot of cultures, they define the new moon by the first sliver, by the first little crescent that they see. However, and people refer to the new moon as the first little sliver, the first crescent. But if you go to NASA's site again, it will tell you that the astronomical new moon, or the new moon, which is what it is a moon that you can't see. And only a new moon can give you an eclipse. So if a new moon does not have a crescent and it gives you a total eclipse, okay, how are you looking at the first crescent as a new moon?
Makes no sense. Felicia said
Everything's so complicated.
yeah. Felicia says she heard there's a dome over or above, but don't know much about it. I
The
think
scripture speaks to a dome.
the firmament, yeah.
Yeah, the scripture speaks to a dome that we don't go beyond.
Right.
But there's that we can go into all the scientific aspect. You got the Van Allen belt, which is full of radiation. You can't go past it. There are many points. Somebody talks about the rocket, when it goes up, it doesn't go directly up. It actually curves, at a certain degree, at a certain angle. There are so many different points that people have proven. What we're showing you here is the scriptures and how it describes our exact current reality as you go outside and you use your naked eyes to look around, right? This is what we're showing you. The scriptures are describing what your naked eyes are able to behold, right? Yes. For the most part, of course, because you can't see the foundations. But it's like there are things, like I said, they're there, but it's very clear what the scriptures are saying.
The element there, the chief element, though, to what I think she's saying, in addition to what you said, is the fact that whenever I hear these, the firmament and stuff of that nature, and people call it different names and so forth, it confirms that no man or woman or child or dog can go to heaven. Confirms that there are boundaries, right? The same way the water was told to stay in its place, form the oceans and the seas, and let the land appear. So there is, a level for humanity, which is on the earth. Yeah, you can go up a few feet, and that's about it. You can't go to heaven. So this is something that people need to understand. Again, in the wisdom of God, there is so much that we can benefit from if we follow his instructions. He created earth for man.
Oh my goodness, I wasn't going to go here, but Felicia's asking.
Okay.
Well, how did they get to the moon?
Which moon? Which moon?
The one that they had in their studio?
Exactly. How is it that you have a guy coming down steps from a satellite or whatever
Oh,
rocket.
what a beautiful question. Oh
Who,
my goodness.
yeah, who is the guy at the bottom taking pictures of him from the
Right,
bottom? How the
exactly.
heck did that happen?
Right,
And he's the first man on the moon. Is there?
right. It's like, no, there were two then. That would have
Yeah,
been
there was a monkey pox, and then there was a guy coming off the thing. Yeah, give me a break. These guys are such
so
life.
bad. Oh my goodness. This thing, you know, that whole area, it's
It
uh
stinks.
how do you say it? Was it taboo? Not taboo. It's
Stink.
it's 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 disastrous. You look at it. Has anybody ever attempted to go back up there? And tell me, did they had to wait for the full moon in order to go up? Interesting. And they probably had to come back before the moon, you know, before it was before the moon started to change its course.
Yes.
Like, oh my goodness, the stuff
Yeah.
that they tell us, it's really unfortunate that many people believe this, and you know,
Yeah.
many so-called intelligent people believe this. It's like, I don't know. That's really bizarre.
But that's how you're going to get your PhD. So you have to be.
You know, I had an image earlier, and it showed the satellite that's required to do the broadcasting, and then it showed that flimsy thing that was used 50 years ago to do the broadcasting. It's like, come on, you know, and the broadcasting is supposed to be better today than it was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Why can't they go back up there? They're so, you know, everything's so advanced. Everything's so great. They can put satellites everywhere.
Put a house up there.
Go back up to the moon then. Your technology is better. Apparently they've lost the technology, and now they've lost the footage.
Thank God.
Apparently.
So let's go to the next slide, please.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. Okay, so these are the views from above. Right, so what does it say here? What does it say in Daniel? So Daniel had lots of visions. Thus were the visions of my head in my bed. I saw and behold a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. So if you believed in this other model, and you were living in Australia, and the tree was growing in the Americas, you wouldn't be able to see. You wouldn't be able to see it. Mm-hmm. But according to this, it can be seen, you know, throughout the entire earth. Mm-hmm. You know, even though, you know, this is a vision, this is one of Daniel's vision. He's seen this tree, and he's seen this on a flat plain or a plain. Shall I say? I'm not going to say it's flat because you've got mountains and stuff, but he's seen it on a plain, and he's seen it to the ends of the earth. All right. So again, there are many scriptures that
we also remembered when Lucifer took the Christ up on the mountain.
Yes.
And showed him all the kingdoms of the earth.
All the kingdoms of the earth, exactly.
Yeah. How did they do that if it was a globe?
Exactly.
No, if it were a globe, you can only see some of the kingdoms. You can't see the ones that are underneath the bottom.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, you know, I don't know what else we can do to prove. You know, it's all there. It's all written. Yeah. You know, the view from above. It's clear, and it's represented in so many different scriptures. You know, even going back to Psalms 19, there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. You know, the sun is there, and you know, it's touching everything and touching everywhere. You know, it's not going around anywhere. All
right, let's go.
I don't know. It's like there was one more point that I wanted to bring up here. Oh yes, these lovely images. Yeah, these are my favorites. So, as you know, one time I was actually on a plane, and I just decided, you know, I'm going to do this experiment myself, but I didn't actually. I should have used my camera, but I didn't. And I was looking at the little window, and you're looking out, and I'm thinking to myself, why does the window look so distorted? It doesn't make any sense. why the window, even if you had double glazing window, you don't have to make it so it's distorted. But they try, I guess at one point in time, they were trying to make sure that everything that they touch distorts the shape of the earth so that when you look out the window, it looks almost roundish.
Okay,
But
correct.
you're looking at these different images, the image that they're trying to show you, the image that you see with your naked eye, and the image that they show you through these windows are all contrary to each other, right? And one thing, I think it was in 2013 when they showed the Chinese shuttle going up to space. Why did they not show you what it looked like outside?
They
You know,
never do.
they don't show you what it looks like.
Never.
Why can't you see through the windows? You've got curtains over the windows. Why can't you just open a window so that everybody can see what you are experiencing?
They can't.
They can't.
Because that would show that they are indeed deceptive.
They are deceptive. But
Yes.
everything they do is so deceptive. It's so incredible. Anyways, it's just very incredible.
Okay, let's go to the
But
next.
guys, this is what the earth looks like. It is a flat plane. You are correct when you say that there is an horizon, because it is horizontal, not vertical, not curved. It is a horizon which is flat.
And on that appreciation, we get to give the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob the credit due to his, what should we say, his comprehensive creativity, his wisdom in creating the heavens and the earth. I mean, we can't even speak to the heavens right now, but we could only speak to the earth. And I'm telling you, what I see down here is amazing. And if we can come to that sense of appreciation and be thankful for whom we are, to know, like we said earlier, that we are filled with 70% water, and that we should cherish the purity thereof. Therefore, we could grow to such levels that not only would we have a better understanding and appreciation of who we are, but how we should serve the God of Israel. Thereby, there's endless enlightenment for us as human beings if we do what the God of Israel recommends that we do. If we follow the instructions, remember, if you went and bought a brand new vehicle, it comes with a manual which tells you when to do certain things to maintain the good service, if you will, and the the long-term process of that having that vehicle. If you don't, then you're going to end up in a sick state of mind. But if you do accordingly, then that vehicle can last longer. You don't take your Mercedes Benz to a Honda dealership, even though they are very good at what they do, especially when it's on the warranty. We have the laws, statutes, and judgments from the God of Israel as our warranty. We follow those instructions, we maintain the standards of the covenant, we can do whatever the God of Israel wants us to do. And therefore, we give him the praises and the glory. We get I call it a mutual respect. We
Yes,
respect him, he respects us. We get
absolutely.
the reward and the benefits thereof, and we pass it on to our children accordingly.
Hmm.
We as Israelites know how to serve our God in spirit and
Amen.
in truth, because
Amen.
we have the teaching of our elder Shadrach, and it doesn't get any better than that.
Yes, absolutely. And I just want to say that, guys, there are two scriptures that I think you should read, and that is Proverbs 8 and Job 26. It is very poetic, but it goes into details how, the God of Israel hanged the earth, how things were actually put together, the waters were gathered up, the earth came forward. It's very poetic. But at the end of the day, as I said before, right at the beginning, it's not really so much what shape is the earth, just understand what is the ultimate objective. And the ultimate objective is for the sun worshippers to worship their sun and get everybody else to do that. They
Yeah.
need the sun in the center of the universe, just as Johannes Kepler had dreamed up. So he dreamed up this idea, and from there came the mathematical and the different models to actually establish that as the reality that we are experiencing today. Well, not really experiencing, but we're told about today. So remember, there is no real reason for it but to put the sun in the center of the universe. When you understand that, you can see the folly in everything else that they do, the deception in this world. So just remember that it's about the sun. But we know that our purpose as Israelites is to serve the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob in spirit and in truth. And we
Yes.
keep his laws, his statutes, and commandments. We read from the King James Version of the Bible, and this is why we can actually refer to these items and, you know, look at what the other people are doing, that it's a mockery. They are making a mockery of the God of Israel's creation, right? So get your mind, I mean, do your research for yourself. It's all over the place. As much as they don't want you to actually go into this, it is out there. You know, it is out there and it's plain as day. Go to the NASA website. That's the best website if you really need to understand some of these things, you know. And of course, they would have the contradictory answers there, because that's what they do. They throw everything out there for you to try and grab what you can, and you believe that's the truth, but it doesn't work. And that's why they have to come up with different theories and different hypotheses all the time to prove their point, because it's lies, as Elder Michael said.
They're all lies. And
all lies.
You talk about Proverbs 8, Officer Charmaine. That's a great scripture.
It's a beautiful
when I read from verse 20 or so, I see the Spirit speaking. And what I mean by that, he'll say, the Lord possessed me in the beginning. It's very personal. And it is almost like you have a photograph, a spiritual photograph of the creation. So, you know, we like people to read it and see the depth of the wisdom of the God of Israel, because the Spirit right there is going to speak to you if you do it correctly. Keep in mind also that the sun serves the God of Israel. The moon serves the God of Israel.
Amen.
Yes.
I like the way that you put that.
Yes.
It does. They do.
So the sun doesn't say, you know what, I'm going to sleep in today. I'm not going out. It's
got its instructions.
Yeah, it follows instructions. It's up early and does its thing. The moon, when it comes, because had it not been for the sun and the moon doing what they do, we wouldn't know about the Sabbath.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, or we might know about it, but we can't prove it. So all of these acts of obedience, very significant to a child of God, or let's put it this way, a creature of the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God
everything else in the world follows what they are supposed to do, except for the children of Israel. We do not follow what we're supposed to do.
And here's the part that I don't like. We claim to be the most advanced creation as man and woman. So if we're the most advanced, how come we're the most disobedient?
Exactly.
I rest my case, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking your time to spend with us today. Thank you, Officer Charmaine, for enlightening us with all of this beautiful.
And thank you, Elder Michael, Elder Andel, Elder, all the council members, and our guests. Oh, goodness. Thank you guys for tuning in, joining this time with us. And a wonderful day. And please don't forget to put your comments in the comment section as well as the chat. Thank you.
You're welcome.